In this lesson, we're going to go over some of those common cameras associated with drones. We're going to compare and contrast them and see which ones are a best fit for your project. We're also going to examine some accessories and gear that you might want to utilize during your drone work. When it comes to camera options, you're probably going to want to pick a drone that has the right focal length for your project, since a lot of beginner UAVs don't have cameras that have interchangeable lenses. So let's examine some lens specs for some more common drones. The Phantom 3 and the DJI Inspire 1 both have a 20mm equivalent camera mounted, which is not going to have the fisheye distortion that a GoPro is going to have, and it's going to have less of a jello effect in my opinion. A lot of drones utilize the GoPro camera, and GoPro has a much more wide-angle view option, as well as options to crop in to a medium and narrow view. However, in my experience, the quality drops off quite a bit more the more you crop in on the camera, so it's probably a good idea just to go ahead and film in 4K and reduce the fisheye effect in post. Now, which one is better, you might ask? Well, that's going to depend on what your project needs are. If you're filming aerials for a real estate video and you want the video to be easy on the eyes and represent the property in a commercial fashion, I'd recommend using the Phantom 3 or the Inspire 1 since it films with a 20mm focal length. However, if you're filming for an extreme sports video or you want to capture a super wide landscape shot, I'd recommend a drone like the Phantom 2 that houses a GoPro camera. If you're interested in which camera has better overall performance regardless of focal range, it might come as a shock, but I believe that the GoPro Hero 4 Black has better dynamic range and sharpness than the DJI Phantom 3 or the Inspire 1. But again, it depends on your needs. But if you think about it, this kind of makes sense because GoPro has been focused on cameras and image quality, where DJI is just now getting into the camera game. This doesn't mean that DJI cameras are bad, and I actually use DJI more than I do GoPro. However, the DJI footage suffers greatly from moire issues, unless you really dial down the sharpness, after which the footage can look a bit smudgy. However, if you're recording in 4K and you output the footage to 1080p, you can get quality results. I just make sure you always film in 4K. Now, the GoPro is a bit more of a hassle when you're filming in 4K, mainly because of the files. The codec's not very friendly, so playback on a computer can sometimes be slow when you're trying to edit it. However, if you film in 4K and you output that out to 1080p, your final video is going to look great. The 4K works wonders at retaining image quality when you need to counteract the lens distortion in post. You're also going to need to purchase a lens hood for your GoPro. This is going to help prevent the strobing effect from the sun flaring through the blades. I also wouldn't recommend any GoPro models below the Hero 3 Plus or the Hero 4 Silver or Black. The reason is these models allow you to manually adjust more options like the ISO and exposure. These options are what allows the GoPro dynamic range to really shine. Otherwise, you get footage with a lot of blown out skylines, and that's not very cinematic. The next thing is the travel case. This is something that without a doubt you need. It's just going to be a huge pain trying to keep with all the separate pieces of the drone, especially when you're moving around. It's just a smart move to invest in a quality case that you can store your drone in, so if you have to travel, you're all set and your drone will be secure. Most of these will run around $250 to $500 price range, comparable to a good Pelican case. They also make some cool travel backpacks that are great for transporting drones on hikes. Now, if you're new to flying, or if you're going to be flying in a place with lots of obstacles, or if there's going to be people in the vicinity, I highly recommend using prop guards if they're available for your drone. When it comes to the use of prop guards, I always say it's not a matter of if you're going to crash, but when. It's just part of the learning curve when you're learning the limits of your drone, which is also why it's important to really get in a lot of practice before you use one in a public space. Prop guards are going to save you from a lot of close calls, like if you accidentally bump into a branch, or if you land too hard and the drone tips over. Finally, the last item I'm going to mention are controller lanyards. A lot of people prefer to use them, and they can help free up your hands and give you the option to fly using what's called the fingertip method. I personally don't use controller lanyards, they just don't match my flying style and they kind of get in my way. But like I said, a lot of people use them. And as a beginner, you may want to use them for your first couple flights until you get the hang of things. In the next lesson, we're going to learn some shooting techniques to get more cinematic footage from your drone.